It's Tim with Broken Dice bringing you a battle report. This is not a complete battle yet. We only got through 4 turns, and we will pick this battle up the next time we get together. But let's do a little background. It was kind of a somewhat historical refight of the Battle of Wakefield, an English Civil War battle that took place on May the 20th, 1643. Um, the parliamentarians had received word that there was a small force of royalists holding Wakefield, and Sir Thomas Fairfax, being kind of bottled up in the eastern counties there, uh, wanted to break out. He was kind of getting surrounded by other by royalist forces, so he thought if he took Wakefield and then he could fall back to a different position. So when he advanced on Wakefield and began his attack, he realized that he was significantly outnumbered, um, which didn't change the fact that he was already committed to the fight. The parliamentarians won the fight, pushed the royalists out, and then Sir Thomas Fairfax got himself out from being surrounded and moved south. Um, so what we're doing here on this one, we're going to flip the roles. The royalists are going to be the attacker. The parliamentarians are going to be the defender. And in this scenario, we've placed some supply markers that the royalists must achieve, get possession of, and then maybe even a couple of supply wagons that are moving through the town. They're also part of this objectives for the royalists. Uh, yeah. So we've talked about the history. Now let's talk about what going on in this game. Since I don't know what the actual terrain was like around the town, and there's going to be the troops of the parliamentarians in the town are going to be dispersed like into billets. So in the first couple of turns for the parliamentarians, they're going to have to organize their defense. They're going to have to get their units together and then move into some sort of position. For the royalists, they're going to have to cross a bridge. They have an advanced cavalry force made up of 3 units of cavaliers and 1 unit of dragoons, and they're going to have to cross that bridge, disrupt the parliamentarians' attempt at organizing some sort of cohesive defense, and then drive them off and capture the supplies. Hopefully, doing this while the royalist infantry get onto the table and get across the river themselves. Now, a couple of things about the river. The river can be crossed at a bridge with no penalty, or it takes all your orders to cross the river at any other point. So regardless of how many movements you get, if you get to the river and you have to cross it, it takes all your move to get across the river, because of trying to find a place where you guys can walk across and not drowning half your guys and that kind of thing. The bridge is a much easier place to get across. Now, uh, I have for my royalists, all my infantry is off the table. They have yet to catch up. Um, this was supposed to be a raid in force, but when they found out that they were so significantly outnumbered, they've sent for help. The parliamentarians, they have 3 units off the table. They have some cavalry and some infantry off the table that they too have sent for help. So it's going to be a fight of really around the timing of how things happen. Can I get my royalist forces across the bridge? Can the parliamentarians get organized in their defense quickly enough to stop any sort of aggressive movements towards the supplies? Timing is going to be a big issue in this game. So, since we're going to talk about timing, a little backstory here. About a month or so ago, my buddy Kurt and I, we kind of did a little refight of Lansdowne Hill. I, again, using the Royalist forces, basically just took cannonballs all day long into the face because I failed every order, or I had disrupted units blocking my path, and my units that went through them became disordered themselves, and it just became a nightmare of a game. Um, Not that that couldn't happen. It's just that when you get together and you don't get to play that much, you really want to play a game. You don't want to have a whole lot of like inaction going on. So what I've decided to do is I've decided to change up and take out the 2 die 6 rule for the orders. Now your orders are going to be passed, but you're going to roll a die 3 to see how far your unit moves. So you still have the random movement, but your order is going to pass. But what I've also added in is a die 12. I'm a real fan of the dodecahedron myself. And so what happens here is every time you want to issue orders to a unit, you roll both the die 3 and the d12. And depending on how far away that unit is, the more likely it is you're going to have a blunder. And that's what the d12 is for. Obviously, if you're within 12 and you roll a d12, that's a blunder. If you're outside of 12, then it's 11 or 12 is a blunder. And if you get in further out than that, it's 10, 11, or 12. And you really want to be risky, it could be a 9, 10, or 11, 12, and you blunder. And the blunder table is all the same. I'm not going to mess with that any at all. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I want the game to proceed with a pace. So that being said, let's look here. The objectives for the game, obviously, the parliamentarians have to protect the supplies. The royalists have to take the supplies. If the royalists can cause the parliamentarians to rout before their reserves show up, then they automatically win, and they get to take the supplies. One of the problems for the royalists historically and in this game is the lack of gunpowder and shot. So to mimic that, my infantry units and my commanded shot will only fire as like half of the normal ability, because not everybody had enough powder and shot to shoot all the time. So my infantry, even when it comes on the table, it will not have the same firepower as the parliamentarians do. Okay, so that's kind of the background and the kind of the nuts and bolts of the who, what, when, where, why, and how of what we're going to do. So let's go on and let's take a look at the battlefield itself. Okay, my lead units of cavalry. I got 3 cavalry units that are on. I have 1 advanced force of dragoons that are up there by that tree on the other side of the river. It's kind of they were able to deploy a little bit further up. They're the ones that are out scouting around, kind of getting the information, and they're the ones that are sending back word that like, hey, there's a lot more guys in this town than what we thought, but it's too late. We have to get the job done anyway. All right, the alarm has been sounded. Now the parliamentarians now are going to have to try to get their units organized and moved into some sort of defensive positions around the town to protect the supplies. Here's a close-up of the in town. We got a unit of commanded shot guarding the gunpowder. We got only 1 unit of pike and shot is actually formed up in the courtyard. We got harquebusiers moving through the town. They are leading escorting the supply wagons. All right, Royalist turn 1. I do really well. I'm really getting close. I'm getting across that bridge. I got my lead unit of cavalry crossing the bridge. I got another unit right behind them ready to go. We got to get across this river, and we got to do it now. Here's another close-up. Okay, in this first turn, obviously they've moved up, and you can see that my dragoons have, in their move, they deployed, and they're firing on the parliamentarians that are trying to form up for battle. Parliamentarian turn 1. It's all about movement for them. It's all about getting their guys organized, getting their guys to get into the action. Okay. All right, there's another close up. Okay, you can see it on the road towards the top, two supply wagons coming in. You can see the division of where the pike guys are, and their associated members of their shot are not together. And this is what has to happen here for the parliamentarians. They got to get them out of the village. They got to get them organized and get them moving towards the combat. Now, luckily, they did have that commanded shot was already ranked up. You got harquebusiers that are moving down the road with the supply wagons, and you had a unit of pike and shot that was already formed up. So they're not completely out of it at the start, but there's still a lot. I mean, they're not even there's no real true battle line. There's really no true organization going on here for any concerted defense. So this is where the timing of the royalists really come into play. We got to get across that bridge. We got to engage these units, maybe engage them piecemeal one at a time so we can get them to break and get them off the table, get them shaking, get them moving, and then break that division a piece at a time while our infantry is trying to get to the fight itself. Timing is everything. And here is where you can see my timing went absolutely wrong. In turn two, I blundered. The largest odds against blundering, and I blundered. And that brought all that unit that was on the bridge getting ready to cross over comes back onto this side of the bridge. The other units have to move away, give them room to move back. So they've moved out of the way. It's like there's this, yeah, it's a cluster. It's a cluster. So yeah, this is a prime example of when orders get mixed up. Somebody becomes unsure. They go, "This is what we want to do," and they, it just turns into a mess. You can see that my dragoons up there are firing into the parliamentarians that are trying to rally. Sorry about that. God, I'm so thirsty. Anyway, that being said, that was a horrible thing to happen so early on because timing for the royalists was so important early on to engage the enemy early before they could get a cohesive defensive line set, and now that timing is definitely in jeopardy. Parliamentarian turn two. All right, now in parliamentarian turn two, those harquebusiers that were escorting the supply wagons have moved up to the outside of the enclosure, okay, where the commanded shot are. So that's changed things up. He did really well on his roll. Kurt got like 3 moves off. His units moved up. They've shot into my dragoons, even though they're skirmishers and all that kind of stuff. They did enough damage, made them shaken. They had the test, and now they've had enough. They said, "Well, you guys are supposed to be over here helping us, and there's nobody helping us. We're out here all by ourselves. We're going to leave." Okay, so that's what's happened to my dragoons. So it's really gone from bad to worse. I have a blunder. My dragoons are fleeing the field, and my enemy is now starting to get really organized. You can see that the blue regiment at the bottom has gotten organized. Its shot has now got in touch with its pike, so now it's a complete pike and shot unit. Same with the red unit at the top. So yeah, we're up against it right now. Royalist turn 3. Okay. All right. Here we were able to get some of our reserve infantry onto the table. Our cavalry have actually moved up and starting to cross the bridge again. Oh my goodness, it could have been so different, but no, it's not. But that's why we play the game, isn't it? You can see you can see my dragoons over there by the trees there. They're starting to pull back. Parliamentarian turn 3. Now, those pesky harquebusiers have charged up and attacked my lead unit of cavalry across the bridge. This can be this part of it is really important. That's going to disrupt my timing even further. So not only did I have the blunder, now I've got a unit that's blocking my movements off the bridge. So my cavalier unit has to do some real stellar work here. Okay. All right. Here we go. We see them charging in. My dragoons at the bottom of the screen are continuing to flee. There we go. We see the charge in. Yeah, my unit is both disordered and shaken. Yeah, so this doesn't look good. But this is where the dice rolling kind of flipped around. Something good happened for me. He has charged in, did his attacks. We attacked back. We did enough damage to cause him to be shaken. We were already shaken. So regardless, both units had the test. I think it was a drawn combat anyway. So we both had the test anyway. And the harquebusiers gave ground, and they're in good order. And my guys are still shaken. And as you can tell, in the next slide here, Royalist turn 4. I'm not seeing what I want to see here right away. This is ridiculous. There we go. End of Royalist turn 4. Okay. You can see that on my turn 4, obviously I couldn't give any orders to the shaken unit. They couldn't cross the bridge because it's just all jumbled up. So my units crossing the bridge have to go through them, and then they have to roll to see if they become disordered. So I was only able to get one unit ordered to go through them. Okay. The other unit didn't have enough move because I think it was just one move, and I was able to clear them, but just barely. But I also had to roll to see if I was disordered for going through them, and I was not. So I passed that roll. So at the end of Royalist turn 4, my dragoons are fleeing still. I have a shaken unit of cavaliers. I got one unit stuck on the bridge, and I've got one unit that's actually going to be able to freely move in the next turn. What to do. There's a lot going on. And also, the rest of my infantry showed up for my Royalist. So now I do have forces on the table. It's just that they're divided by quite a distance. So I'm going to need some really great rolling to help my lead force of cavalry out. And this is where tactically, what do? Do I bring them back across the bridge, do a concerted, reestablish my army as a whole unit, and then try to cross under fire and engage the enemy crossing a river? Or do I continue on with the cavalry attack and do the best I can by bringing up my infantry at on another turn? Because it'll take probably 2 turns to get across the river. Because 1 turn is going to take, regardless what I roll, is going to take all your orders to get across the river anyway. So, it's going to be tough. Here we see from behind the Royalist infantry. They can't see how bad it is right now, but they're soon going to find out how bad the situation is. Parliamentarian turn 4. Obviously, the harquebusiers can't do anything. They're shaken, so they can't receive any orders. But that unit of commanded shot. Luckily, when they shot into my lead unit of cavaliers that are shaken, they missed with their shots. That would have, I thought, One, that Harquebusier unit did stellar work by holding up my cavalry advance as much as it did and doing damage like it did. And that pesky little unit of commanded Shotte there just kept adding that one extra thing. That one, it just was just an aggravation, and just an aggravation. Um, but I got lucky here. I got very lucky on when he went and shot with that and missed those two shots. That was a big deal because that could have devastated that unit of cavalry, and they could have just broken and fled the field. All right, this brings us to the end of turn 4. Uh, you can kind of see where troops are here in relationship to all the stuff. My cavalry is still kind of just jumbled up on that bridge. My goodness, it just not turned out very well. So hopefully I can get this other unit across the table. But it doesn't look good because right now he's got 2 units of Cuirassier cavalry on the table. He's organizing his defense. My goal is I really believe I've got to get up and around. I got to get up and around these guys with my cavalry and threaten them with my infantry. Kind of get them facing 2 different directions because I can't fight it all now with my cavalry because it's too organized, and their cavalry is, obviously their Crusader cavalry. They're going to be tough to deal with. Um, so yeah, we're in a pickle here. It's gonna be rough. But that's the end of this video. I hope you guys like us. Kind of leave a comment down to let me know what you think about me kind of tweaking things a little bit just to get the pace up. Do you like the idea of the orders being passed and then the random movement and the D12 for the blunder? Would you do something different? I don't know. Leave a comment down below. But that brings us to the end of this video. I hope all your projects are going well. Hope you have some great games. Everybody stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you next time.